have anything to report?
No, there are no reportable items.
Okay. And I would announce before we go any further that our mayor was unable to attend, so as vice mayor, I'm sitting in for him. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Payne,
Present?
Councilmember Hewer. Here. Councilmember Campion.
Here.
Councilmember Powers. Here. Mayor Cruz.
So I will invite you for a moment of silent prayer, which will be followed by the flag salute. You'll join me in the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you read the video statement, please?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. Tonight's meeting will air Friday, November 6th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, November 7th at 9 a.m. It is being closed captioned and will be webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv. The City Council meeting videos are also archived on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions for the agenda approved? Good. Okay, then we will have our presentation.
Okay, our presentation tonight, we only have one, is new employee introduction. And I am very pleased to be able to introduce Amy Mendez as our first economic development manager for the city. Amy started with the city on October 26th, and she comes to Galt with 13 years of economic and community development experience. Amy last was with the city of Stockton, and during that tenure she facilitated the development of several major commercial and industrial developments. And before Stockton, Amy was with the city of Tracy, where she was involved in implementing several economic development strategies and attracted several businesses, including Amazon and Macy's, to that jurisdiction. So definitely Amy has the experience that the city was looking for. She brings a high sense of professionalism and also just a big dose of enthusiasm for her job and for this community. So I'm very, very pleased to be able to welcome Amy to our team.
Amy, we'd love it if you'd like to say a few words.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Vice Mayor, I should say, and members of City Council. Thank you, Steve, for the kind introduction. I am very excited to be here in Galt. I spent the majority of last week with Tony touring the city and seeing all the development that's happening here. It's really encouraging from an economic development perspective to come to a community where there's so much going on. Retailers love thrift shops, and so it's really helpful for me to sell the city when there's actual development happening. It's been a long time since communities have seen that, so it's encouraging. And annexations of land you don't see very often, so for me in economic development it is very exciting to see. And Galt has an amazing downtown, and one of the things that really drew me here was the downtown area. There is such potential down there, and so I'm really glad to be here, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
And I think you have a family.
Yes, I do. I have quite a family. I'm married and I have 3 kids. I live in the city of Manteca and born and raised in Manteca, and so it's a little bit of a drive, but definitely worth it. I was really looking to get back to a smaller town. Stockton was just a little overwhelming in terms of the size, and I really wanted to be able to make a difference in a community, and I feel like that's possible here in Galt. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the challenge.
I think we're all excited to have you here. So, did you want
Yes,
to say
we are.
something? Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comments?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda item during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the clerk.
Do we have a public comment? Sherry Daly? Okay. Yeah, nudge me.
Evening, Vice Mayor, council members. Just wanted to update you on the marijuana proposals that have been coming through the Office of Attorney General. The most likely to succeed is what we're branding the one that is being backed by the propensity of billionaires out there that are in the game for the initiative. Was filed yesterday. I have a copy of it here for the city attorney. But what mainly we need to look at, both on the Planning Commission and on the council, is that although it says that localities can ban marijuana cultivation and sales, in actuality, the way that it's written is it prescribes an election to do that, which would require a citizen group to go out, get it on the ballot, and then get 50% of the votes. So, in reality, if this passes, which it's polling, I think in the high 60s at this point, it will allow 6 plants per resident, and that would be indoor or out of view, and it would prohibit cities from banning sales at dispensaries, etc. So that's something to think about as we move forward. The reason I brought it to you tonight is there's a 30-day comment period, which just opened yesterday, and that can be accessed electronically on the internet. So if the council wants to take a position on it, and you kind of have to move fast. So that would be it, and I would encourage you to send forward your comments. I have an interest in it because the initiative also came out without treatment for drug addiction, which I think is utterly disappointing that much tax money would be raised and leaves communities to have to work with the issues of addiction with their own tax money. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you read the consent calendar, please? Was that the only one? Okay.
Minutes of the regular meeting of October 20th, 2015. City of Galt warrants. Authorize the execution of Amendment Number 3 to Task Order Number 2 of the Master Task Order Agreement with West Yost Associates for supplemental consultant services for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project.
Is there any discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Hewer.
Aye.
Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Powers.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Payne.
Aye. The consent calendar has been approved unanimously. And the next item is City Council's office.
Okay, good evening again, Mayor and council members. At Councilmember Powers' request, I'm going to start out on this item, just provide a little bit of history, and then Councilmember Powers will add some additional items. So just by way of background, in the past August 2015, the City Council approved an agreement with Sacramento County for animal control services. And within this agreement, or actually during the time that we were negotiating this agreement, there was discussion about the need within this community to have a pet adoption center in some form, and that we would be exploring that, fulfilling that particular need. And so in the actual agreement with the county, it states that in recognition of the city's expressed plans and initiation of efforts to establish an animal adoption center in the city's jurisdiction, the amount paid to the county for sheltering services would be reduced by $15,000. And so that was built into the original agreement. Since that time, Councilmember Powers has been working with a wide variety of folks within the community to start the effort of forming a nonprofit organization so that this organization could establish a pet adoption center within the city. Basically, the mission of this organization would be to improve the quality of life for homeless cats and dogs through adoption, promote trap, neuter, and release programs within the community, encourage folks to donate their time in staffing a pet adoption center, set up a list of folks that would be interested in serving as foster or hosting foster pets in their home. One of the comments that was made to me within the last couple of days about the need for this type of facility is that there's a lot of people within the community that really care about animals. There's a very large need within our community, but that there hasn't been a center for folks to gather at, or a central organization to kind of make the efforts of people within the community more efficient, and that this organization, as well as the Pet Adoption Center, would go a long way towards fulfilling that need. What I understand Councilmember Powers' schedule is over the next couple of months and years is to take the next 6 months, 4 to 6 months, to complete the process of establishing the nonprofit, developing the structure, the operational plan, and the budget for the Pet Adoption Center, including locating an appropriate facility and getting the tenant improvements installed, with the hopes of starting operation in the early spring or summertime, and then continuing thereafter. What's not on the agenda for action tonight, but we certainly wanted to make you aware of and get some discussion, and if appropriate, bring back at a future meeting, is in recognition of the fact that the city's contract with the county was reduced in anticipation, the cost was reduced in anticipation of this type of facility, is to have the city council consider at a future meeting the idea of appropriating some funds to help in the startup efforts for a pet adoption center and a nonprofit, and then possibly in the future budget cycle to consider putting an item in there to provide some operational support for a pet adoption center in the future. So that probably exhausts the information that I have on the subject, and so I think at this point I would turn it over to Councilmember Powers to correct any of my misstatements or provide any additional information.
This came about a while back with our other city manager. I want to say a couple of things. I was hoping that we had negotiated $25,000, but when it came back, it was $15,000. Supervisor Natoli is very on board with two and will give us some startup money to work on whatever we need to do for designing it, finding the place. But I want it to be specifically known that this needs to be a city, a county, joint effort, and then after that working with establishing a nonprofit, hoping that maybe in 3 or 4 years we could start running it ourselves. But we do need the backing from the city, and in the agreement with the county there is the provision for the city having an adoption facility. And the way it would work is we would work with the county, and I don't want to get going a lot, but we'd work with the county and we'd filter the animals through the county, and we'd start off with a small amount, not, 20, 30 dogs or cats. Probably about 6 cats, 3 dogs just to start off. They would go through the facility, they would be chipped and neutered and spayed and checked to make sure that they were okay, but they wouldn't be like, people wouldn't be bringing your animals in for us to try to find an adoption. We would be working with the county.
Outbound.
Yeah, it's all outbound. And, hoping that further on when we get the nonprofit, we can have fundraisers, we can get more money. There are people that are interested in donating to us, but we need to start it off first as a city-county group effort, get the nonprofit on board, which takes a little longer than I had imagined it would take to get one. And other things that would happen through this, that is in the contract, is the city, I'm sorry, just a thing occurred. The city, the county has a mobile unit that comes around, and we will be on that unit forever, every 7th visit or whatever, depending on what other cities it goes to, and it will spay and neuter for free, 20 animals on that weekend, and it's kind of cool because it's like a little operating mobile unit that just does it right there. And, we are a low-income city. We do have a lot of people that would be hard for them to drive up to Bradshaw to try to get an animal. We would work with the city with our computer setup where, like, if somebody came in, I'm just using this, and says, I'd really like to look to see if there are any beagles or anything. We could look up and see and bring the pet down to meet the owner and hopefully get them, adopted. There's a lot of critters out there that need our help, and there's a lot of animals that, will otherwise be euthanized if we don't start working on trying to, spay, neuter, chip them, get them into good homes. We have volunteers who will foster some and get them ready, and we have a procedure for adopting them. We'll work with the county, having some training before we even open up on how to run one of these units. So it's kind of be a satellite unit, and as I said, we do have some seed money coming from the county by way of Supervisor Natoli and the city with the money that's funded here, we hope, and we'll work on getting the nonprofit in so we can get it going. So that's pretty much what I have to say so far. We'd like to get retail in there afterwards, baby steps, but also some chipping clinics and some clinics where we wouldn't make money, but we could get dogs and cats chipped, and also other clinics where the animals can get shots because going to the vet, they're a lot more expensive, and trying to go up to Bradshaw is really an hour drive, in good traffic. So I really think a satellite unit down here would be great for the city, and that's where I'm at on.
Question. Are there other jurisdictions that have pet adoption facilities similar to this? I'm just thinking something that we could look at to be modeled. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
There's Front Street Shelter that's an offshoot of Bradshaw.
Oh, okay.
There's PALS in Lodi. It's people assisting the Lodi shelter.
Okay.
And there's a lot of towns there. In fact, you ran into one when you were somewhere.
Yeah, so when I was down in Pacific Grove the other week, there's actually a pet adoption center right on Main Street that's been it's a storefront operation. They've been in operation for over 20 years as a nonprofit.
Sure.
They are completely operating off of, we went in and talked to them, and completely operating off of grant funds and sales that they do of, small products. And they actually had a pretty big facility. There's probably 20 animals in there on that day, cats and dogs, with 3 staff members. And like I said, they've been in operation for 20 years.
I did have request from someone in the audience to speak on this. If it's okay, we will hear Sherry Daly's comments, and then council can continue with their discussion.
Thank you. I wanted to brag for Mary Lou because she didn't
You want to
talk.
state your name?
Oh, Sherry Daly.
And
I wanted
where
to-
you live in the
In the city, and I
Thank
wanted to brag for Mary Lou because she works hard with the feline rescue group here in Galt, which is tremendously important to help those little kitties out there. And I've helped on a few of those projects, and it's hard work when you've got little hissy-spitty kittens that haven't been touched before and get them all tamed up. And I wanted to ask, is there any way that the fees that are collected, I know the county gets some sort of fees when we pay our rabies and when we license. If we're going to start doing this in Galt, shouldn't we get a portion of those fees out here? I know they'd be very small at this point, but is there a way to do that? And not to be cheeky, but we still have a barking dog issue in Galt. Perhaps we can find barking dog people and use that money. Kill two birds with one stone. I'm just kidding, but thank you, Mary Lou.
Thank you, Sherry. We are working on soon getting some ordinances that redefine barking dogs, puppy mills. We're working on all of that too. That should be coming to City Council pretty soon. We had a committee of council members and a lot of the managers working on, you know, the basics that everyone should understand, that a lot of people you have to tell over and over again. So we are working on those things, and we are working, Sherry, on getting percentages of adopting the dogs. You know, if we take them, you know, we've got to get an MOU with them. If we take them and we want to charge not much, but if we do, and we're doing all the work of getting them out here and, you know, taking some out of your shelter, can we just keep the funds there for it? So that's part of the program too.
Are there any other questions or discussion? So we are just receiving this report.
Well, I wanted to bring up a couple of things.
Okay, you go.
I would like you to consider the $15,000 that is already on this year's, is on the budget and is in the contract, to work on establishing the nonprofit and to work on, you know, getting everything together that we need, the MOUs and those sort of things, and getting a place and starting. As soon as we do start some of that work, Supervisor Natoli is going to funnel a ton of money to the city, and we can start designing and working on that. And then I was hoping that as we start working on for the next year's budget, we could possibly think about putting $25,000 into it. And I will have a budget by then. And
is that something that we'll want to agendize at future meetings?
yes,
Yeah.
if you want to bring that back,
But we can be thinking about it.
you can be thinking
Keep the
about it.
juices flowing.
You can.
Okay.
And call with questions.
All right. Then we'll move on to the next item. Human Resource Department, revision to billing maintenance worker job description and Galt Public Service Unit salary schedule. Paula, you want to take it?
Sure. Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. So as you may remember, a while back, a few months ago, we had brought before you the building maintenance worker job description, and we have put one of our employees in that position, and they've been continuing to work on our buildings and facilities. We've also tried to recruit employees that will help that individual or that department in getting that work done, but unfortunately we really haven't been able to recruit someone that has the skills that we need, basically because we've been using a very entry-level job description, and so not really paying at the higher level. So what we're recommending tonight.
I need to ask, do I need to recuse myself on this one? No. Okay, just checking.
So
Sorry, Paula.
So, So we've had a couple recruitments, have not really been able to find someone with the skills that we need to perform those duties. So in talking to the department and kind of figuring out what the needs are, we came up with the recommendation to put another level to this job description, which is pretty typical for other job descriptions, and really we hadn't, in retrospect, we should have done it all at one time, but we really weren't thinking along those lines because we are not looking for a full-time position at this time, maybe, somewhere down the road, but if we do have the first level and we can hire at a higher salary and look for the skills that we really need, we can bring someone in that can, perform the duties that we really need. So before you tonight is the revised job description. Again, not to fill a full-time position, but it could be used in the future as a full-time position. It is a position that falls under GPSU, so we have, there's also a recommended salary range for the first level of the building maintenance worker, and we're hoping for approval for that. And again, we would go ahead and recruit for a part-time position if that was also approved by council. Because currently the Public Works Department has a position that's part-time, and those are similar to full-time. We need to get those positions approved by council, so we're asking that their one of their part-time positions, if approved, be changed to a building maintenance worker 1. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions?
So you could hire a temporary or part-time individual at this time, assuming this is approved tonight, correct?
Correct.
Are they looking at temporary or part-time? You said you can't keep, sounds like you can't keep part-time under the old job description, is that correct?
It's more that we've had some people helping, but they haven't really been at the same skill level, at the level we need.
Okay.
So, we need to recruit for this type of work or experience and also pay at a higher level. Because the difference is $9 as opposed to, 14 or, I'm sorry, I have it here in front of me, but we're going to be able to recruit a higher skilled individual.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Would you read the recommendation, please?
Adopt a resolution approving the 1, revised building maintenance worker job description. 2, revised Galt Public Service Unit salary range, adding the building maintenance worker 1 classification. Reclassification of 1 building maintenance worker to building maintenance worker 2 position. And 4, change 1 approved part-time position in the Public Works Department from a parks worker 1 to a building maintenance worker 1.
Can this be one?
So moved to adopt the resolution.
Yes, thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Then I'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Hewer?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Powers?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Payne?
Aye. Next item, police lieutenant salary. Paula, you're on again.
The recommendation tonight regarding the position of police lieutenant is to increase their salary range effective December 1, 2015. With the recent approval of the Galt Police Officer Association MOU, we have found that now that as you know, we have 1 lieutenant vacancy, getting ready to recruit for that, and really taking a look at the salary benefits and the draw for both internal promotions and possible external candidates. It really brought to light that there is not a very big spread between the salaries of a sergeant and a lieutenant. And the lieutenant's position is, a mid-management position, more complex work, more responsibility, all of the things that go along with that position. And we feel that it would be more equitable and provide a bigger spread between sergeant and lieutenant if we were to increase the proposed salary tonight.
Council,
This was on the agenda several months ago, and was it similar in terms of the proposed changes at that time?
What we had brought to council back then was the salary increase that matched the GPOA.
GPSU, okay.
GPOA, which was the 6% salary increase and the longevity, matching for longevity. So it's slightly different.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
And this doesn't include any change to the chief's salary?
Correct.
The current chief's
We did
salary
take a look
range?
at that, and there is...
Before the two were combined?
Yes, they were.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So the recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the recommended salary increase to the position of police lieutenant effective December 1, 2015. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adopt? Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Hewer?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Powers?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Payne?
Aye. Next item is from the Police Department. Ordinance amending section 8.48.020 and 8.48.030 of the Galt Municipal Code related to smoking. Chief, would you like to take it from there?
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. Good evening. As you already know, the state law bans, prohibits smoking in public places of employment and public buildings, as well within a certain distance of those public buildings. And it's codified in the Labor Code and the Government Code. And that distance in the codes is 20 feet from a main entrance or an exit and entrance or an operable window. So just a little discussion on the item. The Galt Municipal Code 8.48 already contains an ordinance that prohibits smoking in places of employment, but it does not specifically include prohibitions against the 20-foot rule within those entrances and exits and open windows. And so we've been unable to enforce that prohibition. The court and the district attorney's office do not take violations. They don't prosecute under the Labor Code and the Government Code that I mentioned earlier. It's required that it be codified in the Municipal Code. So we're bringing this to you. We had actually 2 cases that went up to court and to the district attorney's office that were dismissed, and the feedback that we were given is you need to modify your municipal code to include that clause so that they can then prosecute those as infractions. And so that's what we're bringing before you tonight. It would include now that prohibition in outdoor areas within 20 feet of those main exit entrances and open windows. So our recommendation is that we introduce an ordinance amending section 8.48.020 and 8.48.030 of the Galt Municipal Code relating to the prohibition of smoking outside public buildings, waive full reading, and continue to the next regular meeting for adoption.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Is there any discussion or questions?
It just seems kind of funny to me that the district attorney would want it codified. I mean, there are probably a number of other infractions that the police department cites on that are state law and not local ordinance, correct?
Yeah, unless the city attorney might be able to shine some light on that aspect of it.
There are certain, my understanding is that there are certain infractions they don't enforce and that they then leave to the city to take care of them. So I think in this instance, the police department then tried to file the case and the court wasn't willing to process it because there wasn't a municipal code with it. So this hopefully will clean up that process.
Well, I personally would like to see us go further.
Yeah, I was going to say 20
No.
miles, but...
Well, how about no smoking on city property?
Yeah.
Well, this goes to public places too, not just...
Yeah.
Correct.
It entails-
And public places is defined as, it can be private businesses that are open to the public, and it wouldn't apply to private residences, but mostly things that are open to the public, this would apply. Right.
And so the state reg is 20 feet? Is that what the state
Correct.
regulation?
Correct.
20 feet doesn't seem like far enough to me. I'm okay. Like I said, I'd like to see us not have smoking on any of our properties.
Well, you've heard the recommendation.
The state law does allow the city to go further than that, but we, at this time, decided to leave it to expand and specify the public buildings, but the direction is to come back at some point with something more, and we can look at that.
So any building open to the public,
Yeah, this is public buildings, yes.
not just, so retail establishments that are open to the public?
Mhm.
Yes.
The enclosed permanent structure that is owned, operated, or regularly open to the public.
Further discussion?
Nope, not,
I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Hewer,
Aye.
Councilmember Campion,
Here. Aye.
Are you sure about that?
Councilmember Powers,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Payne.
Aye. Does that count as a vote if you said it
Yeah.
clearly? The motion is passed unanimously. Do I need to read each person's name? Okay, thought we had to do that. Okay, Chief, you're on again. Regulation of alarm systems.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and again, Council. The item is before you tonight. It was our intention to bring it to you as an action item to introduce an ordinance. We just received information. Actually, the information came in Thursday. We became aware of it yesterday, Monday. That's going to prevent us from making this recommendation tonight, but I'd like to give you a brief and some information on the item. I know that you're aware that Council adopted actually a contract with a provider back in May to run a alarm ordinance. And for the public's benefit, the purpose of that is to reduce false alarms and the amount of time, officer time and dispatcher time that is spent on those calls, which are over 90% false. And so the idea is to encourage better compliance and better upkeep of equipment. And so that's where we were headed. To the recommendation we were going to make to you tonight included not charging the public, any current alarm users, a fee for their permit. That, hey, you already have your alarm, you've had your alarm for years, it's worked well, and so you would not be charged for that permit. That apparently was not part of the original discussion under where the contract was adopted, where the company assumed a $35 fee for that. And so we just received, as I said, became aware yesterday of that, the fact that now the company wants to change the terms and conditions, which there's, you know, from my reading, putting on my amateur lawyer's cap, they would be allowed to do, there's a clause in the contract that if any material conditions are changed, there's essentially a reopener of that contract. And so we cannot, under these conditions right now, recommend this to you until that, the impact of that additional charge they want to impose has been examined. And looking back at the history of this, some of it before I arrived, nowhere do we see where a revenue projection was ever done about, you know, how many alarms would be alarm systems would be registered, what's the typical amount of second violations, because the ordinance also does not charge for a first violation, which is typical, and so how many potential second violations and so on, and so it estimates the potential revenue for you, so you can gauge the impact of the contract. After that, there's a split in the revenue. The way the contract that was approved is a 77% for the city and 23% for the company, which runs the program from beginning to end. They handle all the billing, the public contacts, everything. The only thing they wouldn't handle were any appeals, which we would handle here locally if there were appeals. And so with this additional cost that they want to add on top, Now, we're not sure the program is financially viable, so we need to go back and enter some discussions with the company, do some research, some revenue projections before we can recommend it to you. And so with that, our recommendation now is that we continue this item off agenda to a future date.
Okay, I just want to add one point. I think there's one other final item in the contract that's important, and it provides that if we cannot resolve the pay structure with the alarm company, we have the ability to walk away from that contract before we adopt an alarm ordinance. Once we adopt the alarm ordinance, there's a penalty in canceling that agreement, and so we want to make sure that if we do move ahead with the program, that we're comfortable with the fee structure before doing so.
So do we need to get the approval of the council to continue this?
No, we'll just take it off calendar. We just, since it was on last time and we continued it, we just wanted to provide you with a little bit more background.
Okay. Okay, then the next, we have no communication. We can't take any action on the previous item, so we'll go to the city clerk's report.
I just have a few date reminders. Wednesday, November 11th is a holiday for the city, Veterans Day, and the Parks and Rec Commission meeting has been canceled for November 11th. November 12th is the Planning Commission meeting here at Council Chambers, which brings us to the next City Council meeting on November 17th.
Thank you. Comments by staff? Mr. Winkler? Mr. Stewart?
Just a couple quick items. For the Planning Commission meeting next week, we have two items on there. One is the architecture for our KB Homes, who is taking over the Creekside Street project, and also the continuation of the Dry Creek Oaks senior facility and residential development hearing. And then just a couple updates. Last week, we finally received plans for Starbucks up at the Twin Cities area next to the McDonald's there. However, it will require conditional use permit, so we're just starting the process, so we'll still get a few months for that. And then our new Chevron is slated to open within the next couple of weeks with the Mr. Pickles that's within it following a few weeks after that. Yeah.
That's a lot, moving forward. Chief, do you have anything more?
No, thank you.
Mr. Rudolph?
I just want to remind the public that the San Joaquin Delta Community College will be considering the location of a North County campus at a special meeting next Monday, November 9th. The meeting starts at 5:30 at the Stockton office, and it would be great to have support from the Galt community for the Liberty Road site. So if you're not doing anything Monday night and want to support that endeavor, please attend the meeting.
Armando, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Or anything going on out there that you want to talk about?
No, I just have to turn on the lights behind.
Do you have anything? Paula, anything else? Then I'll go to council. Councilman Campion? Councilman Powell?
Can we bring back a report with what we would intend to do with the 15,000 for the pet center, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Nope, I'm good. You're good? Well, I would just say that I want to thank the youth from the History Makers, from the Real Life Church, that provide us with 20 youth to come out and spread 2 dump loads of wood chips at the community gardens. And so it happened just perfectly. We got it all spread, so there's no mud, and we got the rain, so everything is good. Yeah. So if there's no other comments, the meeting is adjourned at, what is it?